All right, so we're taking a look at Sonata number 4 by Handel. This is a NYSSMA level 5 solo, and when you play this, you have to select 2 movements. So I've selected, and most of my students do, the first and the second. The first movement is very slow, and then the second movement is on the faster side. And so we're going to take a look at the slow movement today. If you haven't done so already, go through and add your measure numbers. I just did them down the left-hand side at the beginning of every line. I put the number so that I can kind of easily count to whatever measure. And you'll notice that these measures are huge. In fact, this whole page is only 26 measures. And so we're going to try to get through measure 10 today. Part of the reason that the measures, that there's so much going on in every measure, is that this movement is very, very slow. And you can see at the top it says that the 8th note is approximately 60 beats per minute. So it's so slow that we're counting the 8th note as the beat. So when we're thinking of the beat of the song, this is the 8th note. When you have a quarter note, it's going to feel like it gets 2 beats. And then when you get an even longer figure, like a half note, that's going to feel like it gets 4 beats. So we're kind of thinking in 8th notes here, 8th notes as the beat. The good news is that this is in D major. Both movements are in D major, so F sharps and C sharps. That should make things a little bit easier for us because it's a key that most people are very comfortable with. So we'll start from the beginning. I will tell you some notes to write in, and I'm going to write them in myself too so I can keep track of what I've told you. The other thing as you look through this is there's a lot of ornamentation throughout this. That means trills and other little symbols, grace notes, different things. I normally recommend that students learn the notes, the bass notes first, and then add the trills and other things in afterwards. So what we'll do is right now play it without those, and then at the end I'll play it with them so you can kind of see what it would sound like all put together. So we're going to go from the beginning. You see it starts up bow. We have the first 3 notes are in first position. And then on the 4th note, we're going to go up to 3rd, 2 fingers for that note E. And this note feels like it takes forever because remember, we're counting the 8th note as the beat, so we have a half note tied to another 8th note, so it's going to be 4 plus 1 or 5 beats. That's a long, long note. Go ahead and mark though over that half note that it's 3rd position. That way you remember to get up to 3rd, and you actually are going to stay in 3rd for quite some time. So, going from the beginning again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to stay in 3rd. Still in 3rd. And then back to 1st. So go ahead and mark that at the beginning of measure 3. We go back to 1st position, okay? Let's do that whole beginning part together. Mostly just 1st and 3rd position. So ready, here we go. 3rd, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. And again, some of these rhythms are things that you probably have never seen before because it's so slow. We have things like dotted 16th with 32nd notes. A lot of times I say this, the best way to learn this is to listen to it. There are so many great recordings on YouTube of different people playing this. You can go through and listen and kind of internalize what that rhythm is going to sound like. But we're going to keep going here. You'll see that next note is an A. Normally would be 3 fingers in 1st position. They have a 2 over it. We're going to go to 2nd position. And the 2nd note there, it's another A, has the TR for trill over it. Again, we're going to leave that out for right now, but remember the general rules for trills are you go to the next highest note that is in the key signature. So this is an A, which I'm going to play with 2 fingers, and the next highest note would be a B, so a whole step, a space. okay, when you add that in, but we're not going to quite do that yet, okay? This is what the next part's going to sound like. Okay, I did make a little mistake in there, and I'll tell you what I did, and it's a good thing to mark. You're going to go 2, 2, 1, 2, 3. All of those notes are going to have spaces in between them. Then when you cross over to the A string, that C sharp is the first finger, but since it's a C sharp, remember, in the key of D major, you're actually going to move that first finger up. It's going to be close to your second finger. And so you can put a little up arrow or whatever will help you remember it's a C sharp. And then, so it's going to be 1, 2, open A, and the last two notes of the first line are back in third position. So go ahead and mark 3. Okay, and that should be pretty easy. 4, 3, 3. Okay, so let me play that whole section again without the trill. I'm in second position. Now close. Okay. Now this is a little bit strange. It might be something new, the next thing, but it is important to do. We want to follow what the music is telling us to do for fingering. So you'll see there's a little Roman numeral 2 before the next part. That actually doesn't mean second position. It means you're going to play all of these notes on the second string, which is in this case is our A string. Okay, and so you're going to put your second finger on the F sharp. That actually is going to be fourth position. So go ahead and mark 4 over that. 4 in Roman numerals is 1 V or IV. Okay, so that note is going to sound like this, but with your second finger. And it's going to be a close 2 and 3. 1. So those are all just 1, 2, 3, 4, close 2 and 3. You might want to mark that. You can do the little half step symbol where you connect the two notes with like an upside down V. So again, it's then you get to go back to third. So then mark third position. You can see that they've done that for you, putting a 1 over the D. 1, 3, 4, harmonic A. Okay, that whole section is strange, I know, and it does get a little easier in a second, but I want to go back and do that section again. So find F sharp with 2 fingers. Get ready to put 3 next to it. It's going to sound like this. Back to third, harmonic. Okay, now finally back to first position in the beginning of measure 5. Okay. Pretty self-explanatory there. I know the rhythm is strange, but again, if you're listening to this over and over, you'll be able to kind of internalize what that rhythm is supposed to sound like. Next, up to third position at the end of measure 5 there. Okay, this has an accidental. This is a G sharp. So instead of putting your finger here, where it would normally be for 4, you're going to stretch it. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4 again. 3, 2. There's a grace note there. I am going to do that one because that kind of flows right into it. Makes sense to do that grace note right now. The 4 at the very, very last note of the second line also is a stretched 4. So you actually get to use that extended 4 twice. So again, it's going to sound like this. Okay. Measure 6, the second group of notes there. So we just did the B, A, and third position. Then you can see the next note is in first, back to first. C sharp, I'm going to leave out the trill but do the grace notes. Up to third, okay? Up to third. Awesome. I know there's a lot going on here. I promise once you put it together, once you know what it's supposed to sound like, it really does come together really nicely. So we just went, let's see, up to third. Now that note with the forte under it, that's a C sharp, 3 fingers in third position. This is going to be a 3-beat note because it's a quarter note with an 8th note tied to it. 2, 1. Now this is a spot where I'm going to disagree. I've had students play this differently and it just works a little bit better for them. They actually have you shift back, but if you can do it without sounding too slidey, you can play the A with 1 finger. You are already in third position. 1, G sharp, 1. So it'll be a 1, 1, 1. Okay, the reason that they have you shift back is because they don't want it to sound too, but if you can do it without making it sound slidey, it actually is easier to do it that way. So I'm going to change that to 1, 1, 1. Again, I've had a lot of students be really successful with that. If you'd rather shift back to 2, you're welcome to do that. But I think it sets you up for success to try to stay in third as much as you can there. So you have that high C for 3 beats. 1, 2, 3. 3 beats again. Almost 3 beats. 2, 3. Back to 1. First position. Okay. So back to 1 there, and I'd mark your first position. Okay. Then you're only in first position for like half of a beat, right? Back up to third. 4, 3, 2. And then I'm just going to skip ahead for a second here. I'll go back and play it, I promise. But just to mark it, we're looking at measure 8. This might be the hardest part of the whole piece when you add in all of the trills and other things going on here. Again, we're going to play it without trills, without what's called a mordant. That's the little squiggly looking things over some of the notes. But if you look at the beginning of measure 8, we are in first position for 2 notes, G sharp, E. Then you go to third position, see where it says 2, 2. You're going to stay in third, 2, 2, 1, and then this is another one I'm going to change. I've had some students change this as well and found it easier. If you look in measure 8, there is a trill, the first note with the trill. Go to the note after it, it's a C sharp. They want you to do that in second position. Go ahead and cross that out and do it in first. Okay, it's just as easy to do it in first, or not just as easy. It sounds the same. It doesn't make it any easier to do it in second, and I think it actually sets you up for success to do it in first. So that's going to be 2, 3, 4 instead of 1, 2, 3. Okay. Then you're going to hang out in first for a good while there until in the measure 9, you see there's a harmonic. You're going to go up to the harmonic and then come back down to third. And then 3, 2, 1, back to first. And then the last note of that line, it's in measure 10. The first note of measure 10 is in third again. Okay. I know that was a lot. Let me see if I can hold my music up so that you can kind of see what I have. There we go. I think it's in there. So you can go ahead and pause and copy that down if you didn't get it. All right, again, I think probably one of the more challenging parts, even between both movements, is that fourth line. Let me play that for you. This is starting at measure 8, so you can hear what it sounds like without the trills. Okay, so here's measure 8. So a little bit of shifting at the beginning of that line, a little bit of shifting at the end, but the bulk of it in the middle is in first position. Okay, I'm going to play through this twice, once without the ornamentation. Feel free to play along with me, trying to get all those little shifts and things that we talked about. Then I'll play it one more time with the trills. if you look at measure, I was talking about the mordents before, I didn't quite say what they were. In measure 8, that first note, a mordent is a trill that you only do once. So instead of going, you just go, just a one-time trill. Okay? So here's from the beginning, and without the mordents or trills, but with the grace notes. Okay? So here we go. 1, 2, here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5. Off to second. Off to third. Now put your second finger there to fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to third. Back to first. Up to third with the stretch 4. Back to first. One, 2, 3. 2, 3. Up to third. Back to first. So that's the whole thing. Again, don't get frustrated if you're having a hard time with some of the rhythms. What I've had students do in the past even is find a recording on YouTube and just play with that person. Put an earbud in and play with them. It's rhythms that we don't see very much. It's a little bit unusual, especially when you're in high school level. We don't see this in our music very often. So stick with it and don't get discouraged. Let me play it with the trills and the mordents so you can hear what that's going to sound like. I did goof a little bit on the rhythm in measure 8 because I played the mordent like a trill, but other than that, that is more or less what it should sound like. So get working on that. I'll do alternate videos, so we'll do slow movement, fast movement, so you can get a little bit of both. But we'll pick up with measure 12 next time.